This narrative is not drawn from history. It's seeped from your inner world. Welcome to Silent Signs Stories. When a genius dies, what remains? The books he wrote? The formulas he discovered? The machines he invented? Yes, these remain. But sometimes a genius does not take his greatest secret to the grave. He carries it right over his heart. The date, August 19th, 1662. The place, Paris. One of the sharpest minds the world has ever seen, Blaise Pascal, closes his eyes forever. He was only 39, a mathematical prodigy, the founder of probability theory, the inventor of the mechanical calculator. Everyone admired his mind. But after his death, as his servant was sorting through his belongings, he noticed something strange. There was a bulge inside the lining of Pascal's favorite coat. Something had been hand-stitched beneath the fabric. Curious, the servant cut the threads, and from inside, 2 pieces of paper fell out. Folded, worn from sweat and friction. On them, words were carved in a trembling hand, looking as if they were written in a moment of delirium. This paper was not a mathematical formula. It was not a will. It was the most shocking, mystical document in human history. It had no title, only a single word, written in capital letters, repeated 3 times in the center. Fire, fire, fire. Tonight, we are ripping open the lining of that coat. Tonight, we will talk about how the most rational man in the world experienced something that burned his logic to ash. If you are tired of that relentless voice of logic inside your head, if you say, "Understanding is not enough, I want to feel," welcome. The storm is beginning. Who was Pascal? You must understand this first, because only then can you understand how high the fall was. He was a child prodigy. At just 16, he wrote essays on geometry that made even Descartes jealous. At 19, to help with his father's tax calculations, he invented history's first mechanical calculator, the Pascaline. He proved the theory of the vacuum. He was the darling of Parisian society, smart, wealthy, popular. His god was logic. Everything could be proven. Everything could be calculated. The universe was a giant clock, and Pascal was decoding its gears. But there was a problem. Pascal was unhappy. He suffered from chronic pain. His stomach burned, his head ached, but the real pain was in his soul. Science told him how, but it couldn't tell him why. With probability theory, he calculated the odds of winning at gambling tables, but he couldn't calculate the meaning of life. Just like you. Maybe you have everything. You have Google, you have AI, you have degrees, you have analytical intelligence. You fit everything into a logical framework. You say, "This relationship isn't logical. This investment is logical." But that emptiness you feel when you put your head on the pillow at night, which formula cures that? Pascal gave that emptiness a name: the God-shaped hole. Man is an infinite abyss, and this abyss cannot be filled by finite things: money, fame, pleasure, knowledge. Only something infinite can fill it. Pascal, while at the peak of logic, had actually hit rock bottom. And then, the accident happened. Late 1654. Pascal is crossing the Neuilly Bridge in a carriage. Below, The Seine River flows, dark and cold. Suddenly, the horses spook. They go out of control. The reins snap. The horses leap over the bridge's railing, plunging into the raging waters below. But something miraculous happens. The traces connecting the carriage to the horses break at that exact moment. While the horses fall to their deaths, the carriage is left hanging on the very edge of the bridge, suspended halfway over the abyss. Pascal comes face to face with death. He looks down into the darkness. In that moment, all his mathematics, all his physics, all his logic go bankrupt. In the face of death, 2 + 2 does not equal 4. In the face of death, there is only nothingness. He survived that accident physically unharmed, but his soul was shattered. From that day on, Pascal constantly saw an abyss on his left side. Even while sitting in a chair, he couldn't look to his left. It felt like a bottomless pit to him. Was this madness? No, this was the veil tearing. Pascal realized how thin the membrane of the material world really is, and he began to search for what lay behind that membrane. And the great night, November 23rd, 1654, around 10:30 p.m., Pascal is alone in his room, reading the Bible, thinking, maybe weeping, and suddenly, it happens. This is not an idea. This is not a thought. This is pure energy filling the room and his body. A fire. Pascal grabs his pen, trembling. He has to record what he is experiencing. He is afraid of forgetting. The first word he writes on the paper is this: fire. Feu. Then he continues, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And immediately below that, he writes that famous rejection, not of the philosophers and of the scholars. Stop here. Feel this sentence. Who is the God of philosophers? He is the God found through logic, the prime mover, the architect of the universe. He is cold, distant, mathematical. But the God of Abraham? He is a God who speaks, loves, gets angry, burns, calls, and lives. He is not a formula. He is a person, a presence. That night, Pascal resigned from his logic. He wrote, certainty, certainty, feeling, joy, peace, oblivion of the world and of everything, except God. This experience lasted exactly 2 hours. At 12:30 a.m., the fire went out. Left behind was a man covered in sweat, weeping, and no longer the old Pascal. That night, the genius died. The lover was born. So, what did Pascal do? Did he go out the next day and shout, I am enlightened? Did he write a book saying, here is the proof of God? No, he acted like a true mystic. He fell silent. He took that paper he had scribbled on that night. He copied it out neatly onto parchment. He kept the original paper too. He folded both of them, and he sewed them inside the lining of his coat. Why? Because that paper was his secret. Every morning when he put on that coat, he felt the rustle of that paper over his heart. He played the role of the serious, rational man to the world again. But over his heart, he carried the memory of that fire. That paper reminded him, do not forget. Do not forget that night. Do not go back to logic. Stay loyal to that fire. This was Pascal's silent vow. He spent the rest of his life helping the poor, praying in monasteries, and writing that magnificent work called Pensées, Thoughts. But he couldn't finish that work, because the fire could not be contained in words. His most famous quote was born from the ashes of that fire. The heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of. Le cœur a ses raisons, que la raison ne connaît point. Now, let's turn to you, the rational human of the 21st century. You worship data. You worship proof. You say, I don't believe what I don't see. But you are unhappy, because you too have that Pascal's void inside you. And you try to fill that void with Netflix, with shopping, with careers, with relationships. You throw things in, but the well never fills, because you cannot fill an infinite void with finite things. Pascal is calling out to you. Use your mind, yes, but do not stop where the mind ends. The mind has a limit. When you reach that limit, faith or intuition must take over. This is not blind faith. It is like falling in love. When you fall in love, can you explain it with logic? Do you say, my hormone levels have changed? Or do you say, I am burning? Pascal's fire is that state of burning. There are moments in life when everything you know becomes meaningless. A moment of birth, a moment of death, that shiver you feel when looking at a work of art. In those moments, the fire in the lining of the coat touches you. Do not turn your back on it saying, it's not rational. That might be the only real thing. When Pascal died at 39, doctors performed an autopsy. Do you know what they found? His stomach and liver were in terrible condition. But his brain, the structure of his brain was so complex and dense that the doctors were astonished. However, the real treasure was inside that coat, that piece of paper. Today, after you close this video, think, what is in the lining of your coat? What is the truth you carry over your heart that you can tell no one? Which moment changed you? Which pain, which love, which fear tore you away from the old you? Maybe you experienced a night of fire, but you forgot it. You covered it up with your logic. You said, I was being ridiculous. Lift that cover, because what makes a human is not what they know. What makes a human is where they burn. Now, if you dare to leave the cold corridors of the mind and enter the warm room of the heart, leave your own fire down below. In that modern agora, in the comment section, write only this: I am here with my heart, not my mind. Let logic stay outside. Only those who feel are allowed here. Remember, fire only burns those who get close to it, but it also only illuminates those who get close to it. May your fire never go out. I'll see you in the next one.